Guys, this is my walk away story, and it is so late. A young lady a week ago called me a Russian bot, and it was just over a disagreement. And I kid you not, I thought it was the most curious thing. It was so random. I could not understand why someone would call me that. But now I'm just realizing that, oh, that's what a Russian bot is. Okay, so let me just put the disclaimer out there. I'm not a Russian bot. So I've moved and I am officially leaving the Democratic Party, and I feel good about it. Ain't gonna lie. So I don't really know how this works. I guess I'm just gonna tell you guys my story if you're interested in listening to it. My walkaway story is actually pretty sad. I've decided to not film a 50-minute long video. I'm probably just going to get to the main focal points of the reason why I left the political party that I was once a part of, that party being the Democrat Party. So let's just start where it all began. Barack Obama was still in office when there was a lot of white on black tension incited within the United States. More than one case just popping up in the media about this white cop, black man, tension. I always arrived at a different opinion than my peers, than my friends did. I don't know, it was just so easy to conclude with, that's racist, or they out to get us, or this is like Jim Crow, we're oppressed. And I just never felt that way. I just always saw moments like that, like, yeah, there are some injustices in the world, and now that we've got these things that are extensions of ourselves, like we now have our neighbors' shortcomings and our neighbors' horrors in our hands. We're kind of like God with these things. We can see everything in the world in an instant. And I think to some degree, you could actually make the case that social media has really incited a lot of this hyper-representation and hyper-outrage. If you look at something that's happening in Alabama to one of your black neighbors right now, you could live in Los Angeles, California, and you're going to be scared when you get in your car and drive somewhere. Beyond all that, I just knew, and I really felt deep down in my heart that we're not oppressed. I could not shake this symbolism that was just palpable. It's so easy to become triggered when you see a white cop versus a black man. I never came out on the opposite end of watching those things feeling like I needed to run and hide as a black woman. That to me was being a little bit, that was reaching. I don't know, but my friends never felt the same. It was always like, we are oppressed. And I always wonder, well, how? Well, if you're not oppressed, then that's just you, but other people are oppressed. And I'm just like, where? Where are these people who are suffering so bad? And are we really going to insinuate and allege that their shortcomings in life is because of some white man in a pointy hood who refers to himself as a wizard? So it was around that time that I really began to suspect, silently, that, there's something here. I'm really, we're in disagreement, but, that probably doesn't mean anything. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. This past election, you would probably be horrified to know that I voted for Hillary Clinton. Why, you ask? Because as a black person, you just take the blue pill. Why wouldn't I vote for Hillary Clinton? She threw us a Beyonce concert. And it's ignorant things like that I firmly believe there are still hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of black people going to vote in this next election because of that same thought process. And that shit is scary. You know what's crazy? The Democrats have always prided themselves on being the party with morals, with ethics, with this cosmic justice kind of pursuit where everyone is equal and gummy bears fall out of the sky, and if you get this, you can have that, and they're just, the party for us young people. Unfortunately, we got to see the DNC in its truer colors during this past presidential election. Bernie Sanders was robbed. Yes, he was. We gave Bernie a real lesson in socialism. We took the votes that he got and gave him to Hillary. If we're honest with ourselves, that display of corruption, baby, that doesn't make you any better than the Republicans that you claim you're against. I voted for Hillary Clinton because she was the most qualified for the job. That's pretty much it. And I also felt really confident that Barack Obama was passing off the torch. Like, she was kind of like his endorsement, and I just felt really confident that she had been everything. She had been the Secretary of State, she had been a First Lady, she had been a really successful lawyer. Despite all the Benghazi nonsense, and honestly, if I'm honest, I did not follow any of the news surrounding Benghazi or any of that stuff. I was really out of the know. I was not interested in politics when I was voting Democratic. In a way, there was nothing to research. If you have always historically voted a certain way because it's been indoctrinated into you that because of your skin color, this is what you do every time you go to the polls, what need was there for research? So, what brought on this political stance of mine? Why am I conservative? I've always wanted to target unnecessary spending. Because if you're honest with yourself, what is the opposite of conservative? It's reckless. I feel like we're so many trillions of dollars in debt, we might want to make that a priority. I had this overall goal of lowering the government's debt. That was always first and foremost to me. And come to find out, by golly wow, that, my friends, is a fiscal conservative outlook. So yes, I have those conservative values. When studying political science, I realized that my views were really aligned with the conservative views on the subject of human nature. And it's a view grounded on the premises that we are all security-seeking creatures, human beings. We are drawn and attracted to the familiar. Moral corruption is implicit in each and every individual. Oh, it sounds so bad. And here's the kicker. Human rationality is unreliable. Let me say that again. Human rationality is unreliable. Try as you might, you can't dispute that last fact. Have you even seen Judge Judy? We're screwed. And those are largely in contrast with the liberals' view on human nature. They're self-reliant, they feel. The liberal view is that they also feel that they are governed by good nature, governed by reason. And to me, that's totally false. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to suggest that every person is just an evil asshole. We've got seeds in us that we need to be cognizant of. We've got things that we need to suppress down in order to be a functioning, civilized, moral, decent person who contributes to society. In nature, I feel that is truth. I know someone out there is going to go, well, how can you say that about everybody? Everybody's different. Now, the examples that I gave are textual definitions outside of a book on ideology that I used as research in pursuing my political science degree. So on top of that fiscal conservatism, my viewpoints on human nature and how we as human beings need to first establish that we are all very capable of being bad people. I also hold a conservative view on my outlook of society. I mean, I believe that we are one large living entity. And this entity, this whole, exists outside of the individual. And this whole, this existence is held together by bonds and traditions. Bonds, traditions, and a common morality that we all share. Once we first establish that we are all capable of being very, very good or very, very naughty. For the most part, we are very, very, very naughty people. Now, that's the history of conservatism. That's kind of like the framework back when Hobbes was around. That's when the history really began. Today, if you ask the conservative if they are aligned with those things, they would probably tell you no. Because that would almost lead you to the presumption that, hey, if I feel like everybody is bad, every person is bad, then that would almost mean that I would almost have to advocate for the government to be in every facet of my life. As a conservative, I do not personally want the government in every facet of my life. I actually see the American government as a complete and utter disappointment. And although that I feel it is extremely important, especially in its role as a regulator, I feel like it should be something more like a referee than it is a key player, if you will. And I know that absolutely contradicts everything I just said about the framework, the historical pieces of conservatism, that, you know, it probably merited me to go deeper in depth about conservatism and where it really came from. But this isn't that video, you guys. That's another video. Today, I am advocating against my dear beloved liberal friends out there who want to shove socialism down my throat. We've all seen the legacy of what socialism have left behind in different places of the world, and I don't think it's unwise to look at those examples and run for the hills. I've switched my perspective on the subject of socialism, however, just because I don't necessarily know if we've been asking the right questions. Maybe it's not a matter of if we should have socialism per se. It could absolutely be a question of how much socialism does America need? How much socialism will work for America? The left is advocating for that. I have to vote on the right because no. What's interesting when you get into a debate with someone who is an advocate of socialism, they always tell you, for the most part, it's never been tried. How about our post office, our libraries, our roads, our police departments? All these things are socialized here in America, and how are they going for you in your state? So if you can look at the things that we've already technically socialized, and if you can make the argument that they're not going so great at this point in time, why don't you ask yourself if you want the government in your healthcare? And if that's not enough, I tell you, we could really learn a thing or two from our veterans. How do they like the VA? How do they like having their healthcare and everything administrated at the VA? And is it working for them? And then from those answers, I'm sure there'll be just answers on different ends of every spectrum you could imagine. Let's ask ourselves if the government can then extrapolate those kinds of services to 300 plus million people. I wonder, kids, if socialism is the only theory we should be examining. Can't give the Democrats that vote. The one thing that really concerns me about a politician like Bernie Sanders, that he wants socialism, that he knows who's going to pay for it, that such and such and this and that should be free. Well, Bernie, where is this money really going to come from? One of the things that really frightens me about the Democratic Party today is this free lunch campaign. Everything is free. It's like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. He might just make a corporation that's rich pay for it, okay? But honestly, guys, and I'll give him that, okay? Let's just say that that is his answer. Let's just say that he wants to make all the filthy rich corporations pay for everybody's healthcare, everybody's education. Has there ever been a society in the world that has flourished and continued to grow and be prosperous when sucking off of the resources from 1%. Talk about Bernie Sanders. 2018, we're preparing ourselves for the reign of Bernie. He's going to give us free healthcare, free everything, and he's also going to give immediate amnesty to immigrants. Barack Obama was sued during his administration because he sent children to jail with their parents because he did not want to separate them. That was immoral. And since those laws have been ratified, so to speak, and so now when you have this next president, Donald Trump, and we get an influx of millions, hundreds of thousands of immigrants, and he looks at his paper and he goes, oh, this is what we do. Separate them. Do what you need to do, ICE. And then it's just like he's bashed left and right to left. And it's like, my God, this was totally unfair for him. And beyond all of that, what Democrats don't tell you is how much this stuff is going to cost. I'm from a poor community of people. Tell me how much this is going to cost people who look like me. And then we can make the best informed decision. When you talk about immediate amnesty, all that means is no border control. That means the people who come here who are not insured, who's paying for their insurance? The American taxpayer. Well, you can't have both things. You can't have open borders. You can't have a welfare state. You can't advocate for all those things at once. And then you can't look up and say, oh, well, education sucks. Our teachers are out-ratioed. They're not paid enough. They're oversaturated. Well, if all of these things are true, why are you advocating for more people to be here? We are not at a place where we can sustain everyone. We're not. No one is. I don't believe that there's a single country anywhere where if 100 million people showed up at their doorstep, they'd have a practice in place. What is so wrong about protecting the border and creating a pathway to citizenship? But it is not a liberal view to say this or to ask that. People make the case all the time. It's the moral thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Yeah, but is it the smart thing to do? I get it. I really do. But two things. You so much as fart wrong, you're going to jail. You break the law in this country, you're going to jail. Why, oh why would you advocate that someone do something as illegal as hopping over a border and not going to jail for it? I'd also like to point out that when Donald Trump won the election, America as a whole showed Canada how much we respect the immigration process. We pretty much crashed their entire site because we were mortified of what that man could possibly do to this country. Here we are advocating that other people don't do the same. Maybe the Democrats' entire political campaign is built on who's oppressed, who's black and white, gay rights, women's rights, wet wipes. Everything's divided, and the Democrats are at the root of this bullshit. They really, really are. It's either black or white, man against female, homosexuals against heterosexuals. I walked away. I don't want to be a part of a party that can ride on the coattails of my skin color and do fuck all for me. Sorry. And it's so nuts that you have to answer questions like, how do you feel about equal rights since you're a conservative? I always give people this stink face when they ask me that because I just feel like, first of all, I don't understand the question, and I'll tell you why. What is the difference between trans rights or gay rights or women's rights or male rights? What are the differences? There aren't any. It's redundant. I'm for equal rights. So you don't have to ask, but what about gay rights? What about LGBT? Yeah, no. You set me up for the okie doke, and I'm gonna hashtag walk away. How do you feel sharing a party with racists and white nationalists? I guess I feel the same way a Democrat would feel sharing their party with a black nationalist. And I haven't even shared this with anyone yet, but the last time I was on Howard University's stopping grounds, I went to a bookstore, coffee shop called Sankova. And there was a black nationalist there. He called himself a doctor. I don't know if he had a PhD in anything, but he was a black guy, smelled like incense, had salt and pepper hair. He was woke. He looked at me and he goes, "My sister." And then he gives me a sheet of paper and it has this agenda on it. It's a black nationalist agenda. I forget what they called themselves. But on this agenda, they were going to discuss the gentrification of their neighborhoods. They were calling it the white invasion. They were also going to be discussing the white devil, I think. And there was some weird imagery of a white boy being hanged. Black nationalists would like to be segregated just like white nationalists would like to be segregated. You can go into your trick bag and say, oh, well, it's because this, that, and the third. It doesn't matter. The point is, if you believe in equality, you would not stand for that bullshit. Here's why I'm hashtag walking away. I think that capitalism is going to serve my community better than any socialism can. I'm totally for free markets. I think free markets force people of different backgrounds, of different walks of life, of different creeds and backgrounds to work together for a common goal of exchange. Are we really oppressed? I tell you one thing, and I'll just come right out and say it. Most white conservatives can't, but I have the privilege as a black woman to call some shit how I see it. Walking home late at night, I don't tell myself to look out for the white guy in a pointy hood. My overall fear is that I run into someone who more than likely looks like me. It's the phoniest shit I've ever heard. That we need to worry about the 0.0045% of cops out here who have horrible run-ins with black people. Then we do the upward 80% of black homicide. Come on. Phony. It's phony. Democrats don't care if you kill yourselves. They just want you to vote for them. And you can make the argument that, well, neither party is going to do anything for you, but the least you could do is vote for the party that's going to keep you in charge and responsible for your own families. They would have you fooled in thinking that no other party is for LGBT. Really? It's outrageous, especially for a party who accepts donors from radical Islamic countries who openly hang and murder gay people. The Democratic Party wants you to suckle from their tit for the rest of your life. Believe it or not. If all of those things mean nothing to you, I think you should check the validity and the credibility of a party that would suggest that Donald Trump is such a flaming lunatic that they continue to give him more funds for war. I don't know about you, but I'm truly woke out here. I'm not voting for that riffraff. I don't see myself voting on a ticket that supports a subset of people fining you and upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars because you use the wrong personal pronoun. I'm not doing that. I also don't want to be in support of a group that continues to attack Christianity. And this is also something that I've just come to notice recently. I'm not a Christian, but I ride or die for people who are morally conflicted in their religions. I've practiced Christianity growing up. I've also been a Muslim woman. I wore full hijab. I wore niqab before. But when I hear at any point in time where someone was made to do something that is morally conflicted with what they believe in, I become a pit bull. I don't play that mess. And you know what's more important than that? What's more shocking than that? When's the last time you saw media coverage on an instance where a gay couple walks inside a bakery and they force a Muslim man to bake their cake? You don't see it. It's almost like Christianity is under attack. I want to be on the side of tolerance, and I'm going to hashtag walk away from the side that says that they're for tolerance, but they're really not. There are so many people who are now grouped together who are so different, who have been labeled far right or Nazis or hate speech, chauvinist, misogynistic, white privileged people, to have infiltrated a group that has been polarized, such as that. I've got to tell you, the only side that's tolerant is that side. They're the ones that exchange ideas that are opposing, and they don't kill each other. They're the ones that walk away at this present time with more knowledge. We're being labeled as these far-right lunatics. Where in actuality, we're not far-right at all. We just left the left. So those were some of the reasons why I left the Democratic Party, why I hashtag walked away. Sorry if this was all over the place. I didn't really have a specific flow of ideas. I'm just happy to say that I really, really do love my country, and I want the best for my country. I want the best for my president, because there is absolutely no honor in sabotaging your country because you have a vendetta against a specific administration. Talking to you, Democrats! I think we're going to get to a place where things cool down a little bit, but until then, one of the things that the government is absolutely sucking at right now is realizing that although they give us and allot us the space and opportunity to be who we are and to have these separate ideologies, they're also not protecting us from one another. There is absolutely no reason at all where people should now start being fined or start being censored on YouTube. It's just ridiculous. I never thought I'd see a day where a conservative would be banned from a Twitter account or a YouTube account or Instagram, where for the longest time you could go on Twitter and radicalize yourself. These were platforms that people in the UK could reach out to, kind of recruit for ISIS. And YouTube and Twitter and all these platforms, what are you guys doing? People like to debate. They like to exchange ideas. And damn it, if you don't like someone's view, debunk it. The only way you're going to debunk it is if you protect free speech. If you have no speech, if you take speech away, what are you doing? And I guess I can end it with this. If classical liberalism has taught me anything, is that you can absolutely detest the views of your neighbor, but you should absolutely 1,000,000% advocate for his liberty to say whatever he wants. It's free speech, baby. We could be living in London right now where people are getting arrested for memes. America, do better. Hashtag walk away.